It started like most dating app conversations do. Casual, flirty, and easy. Sarah's profile was simple. A couple of selfies with warm smiles. A short bio about loving coffee, bookstores, and late-night walks. She seemed normal, kind, and genuinely interested in me. Our conversations flowed naturally, and within a few days, I felt like I'd known her forever. She laughed at my bad jokes, recommended movies she thought I'd like, and even remembered little details I mentioned offhandedly. But then, little things started to feel off. During one conversation, she mentioned the exact table where I usually sit in the library. "You're probably there now, aren't you? Corner table, third floor, right by the window." I froze, my thumbs hovering over the keyboard. I hadn't mentioned where I usually studied. I brushed it off as a lucky guess. Maybe I'd posted something on social media without realizing. But it kept happening. Sarah would casually mention seeing one of my friends in the dining hall or comment on the weather from my side of campus. Slowly, the easy comfort of our chats started to feel more like surveillance. I started getting paranoid. Every time I walked across campus, I'd glance over my shoulder, scanning the faces in the crowd. Was Sarah here? Watching me? I even started checking my social media, looking for clues. Had I posted too much? Had I accidentally shared my routine? But nothing stood out. My accounts were private, and the last thing I'd posted was a picture of my dog weeks ago. When I asked Sarah directly about how she knew these things, she brushed it off with emojis and playful responses. "Oh, I'm just good at guessing." Winking face, but the guessing got too specific. One night, as I was walking back to my dorm after a late class, she messaged, "You look tired tonight. Long day?" My blood went cold. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk and turned around slowly, scanning the dimly lit path behind me. No one was there. I told myself it was just a coincidence, that I was overthinking it. But by then, talking to Sarah felt less like flirting and more like feeding information to someone hiding just out of sight. The next day, I decided to confront Sarah, or whatever version of her existed behind the screen. I sent her a message. "Let's meet up. Coffee shop near campus. Today. No excuses." She replied almost immediately. "Sure." Smiling face with smiling eyes, 3 p.m. I felt a flicker of relief. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe this would all make sense once I met her face to face. But of course she canceled again. At 2:45 p.m., she sent a vague excuse about a family emergency and promised to reschedule. I stared at the message, my phone trembling in my hand. That was it. I was done playing along. I started walking back to my dorm, trying to shake off the frustration boiling in my chest. But then, halfway across campus, I noticed someone. They were standing near the edge of the courtyard, partially obscured by a tree. A woman, maybe early 20s, wearing a hoodie and holding a phone. I couldn't see her face, but I could see the screen of her phone glowing faintly in the shadows. My stomach dropped as I realized what was on her screen. It was my own dating profile picture. My breath hitched, and I froze in place. The world around me. Students laughing, bikes zipping by, leaves rustling in the wind, blurred into static. All I could focus on was the faint glow of my face staring back at me from her phone screen. Slowly, the woman lowered the phone, but she didn't run. She just stood there, watching me. I took a hesitant step forward, my voice barely above a whisper. "Sarah?" She didn't react. Her hood was pulled low over her face, and I couldn't make out her features. My pulse thundered in my ears as I took another step, but before I could get any closer, she turned on her heel and walked away. Calm, deliberate, disappearing into the crowd of students. I broke into a sprint, weaving through people, my backpack bouncing against my shoulders as I chased after her. But she was fast, too fast. By the time I reached the corner of the building where she had disappeared, she was gone, vanished, like smoke in the wind. Panting, I stood there, bent over with my hands on my knees, trying to piece together what had just happened. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Sarah. "Why are you running, David?" My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped my phone. The message sat there, mocking me with its playful tone. the smiley face at the end feeling more like a threat than a joke. I spun around, scanning the courtyard, the pathways, the windows of nearby buildings. Was she still here, watching me? Was she alone? I didn't go back to my dorm. Couldn't. Instead, I ducked into the library, my heart still pounding. I found a secluded corner on the 3rd floor, tucked behind a row of bookshelves, and sat down to catch my breath. My mind raced with questions. Who was she? How did she know so much about me? Why did she have my picture on her phone? Then, another buzz, another message. You're good at hiding, but I'm better at finding. Winking face, my stomach dropped. I looked around the library, my eyes darting to every corner, every shadow. Was she here? Following me? I stood up abruptly, bumping into the edge of the desk, and made my way to the exit. But as I stepped outside, my phone buzzed again. A photo this time. It was me walking out of the library, taken just seconds ago. Couldn't breathe. The photo stared back at me from my phone screen. A perfect shot of me stepping out of the library doors, head down, looking paranoid and lost. She was close, too close. I glanced around frantically, scanning every face, every passerby. Was she behind me? Above me? Across the street? My phone buzzed again. Don't look so scared, David. I'm just keeping an eye on you. Smiling face with smiling eyes, I bolted. I didn't know where I was running to, but every instinct told me to move. Get away. I ended up in one of the older campus buildings, a lecture hall that was empty this time of day. I slipped into a classroom and locked the door behind me, collapsing into one of the chairs. My breath came in sharp gasps as I tried to make sense of everything. Who was she? Was she even Sarah? Or was Sarah just a mask? A game? My phone buzzed one last time. This time, it was a live streaming link. My thumb hovered over the screen before I tapped it. The video opened. The camera was shaky, moving slightly as if held by someone walking. It was aimed at the door of the classroom I was in. A soft knock came from the other side of the door. 3 slow, deliberate taps. I didn't wait to see what happened next. I grabbed my backpack and shoved a desk against the door before slipping out the emergency exit at the back of the classroom. I ran across campus, heart pounding, barely stopping until I was in the middle of a crowded plaza surrounded by students. The messages stopped after that. No more photos. No more live streams. Nothing. I reported everything to campus security and later to the police. They looked into the app, but Sarah's profile had been deleted. The messages were gone. There was no trace of her or whoever had been behind it. Weeks later, I deleted every dating app from my phone. I stopped sharing my location with anyone, locked down all my social media, and started double-checking every face in the crowd. Sometimes, though, when I'm walking home at night, I still get the feeling that someone is watching me. And every now and then, I'll get a friend request from an unfamiliar profile. Always a woman, always with a smile. Being a freelance photographer means I practically live online. My social media accounts are a portfolio, my email is a booking desk, and my phone feels like an extension of my arm. So, when ads started popping up that felt too specific, I didn't think much of it at first. We've all joked about our phones listening to us, right? But this wasn't just the usual, oh, I talked about sneakers, now I see sneaker ads situation. This was sharper, stranger. One day, after a shoot at a quiet cafe downtown, an ad popped up on Instagram. Need a break? Come back to Brew and Bean Cafe for 20% off your next coffee. They tagged the exact cafe where I'd just been. I hadn't posted anything about it. Not a story, not a photo, nothing. I brushed it off, telling myself maybe it was a coincidence, or maybe the cafe had some kind of geo-targeted ad. But then it got worse. An ad appeared for a skincare brand I'd casually mentioned out loud to a friend while walking home. No texts, no posts, just a passing comment. My stomach started twisting every time I scrolled through my feeds. The breaking point came late one night. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, trying to ignore the growing paranoia that every ad was some kind of digital footprint I'd accidentally left behind. But then, an Instagram story ad appeared. a furniture brand promoting cozy bedroom setups. The photo was of my room, my actual bedroom, same bedspread, same half-open curtains, even the book I'd left on my nightstand. But it wasn't just a generic angle, it was taken from the corner near my closet, a place where no one should have been standing. I sat up so fast my phone nearly slipped out of my hand. My eyes scanned the room, every shadow suddenly alive with possibility. I checked the closet, under the bed, every corner. Nothing. My windows were locked, and the door to my apartment was still bolted shut. But the damage was done. Someone somehow had seen my room. I went back to my phone and stared at the ad again. There was no account tagged, no link, no way to trace it back. Just a caption that said, "Your space deserves better. Upgrade today." Sleep was impossible after that. I spent the rest of the night with every light in my apartment turned on, my phone face down on the table, and a kitchen knife within arm's reach. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant sound from the street felt like confirmation that someone was here, or had been. By sunrise, I decided enough was enough. I needed answers. I started by digging into my phone. I checked app permissions, privacy settings, everything. Most of it seemed normal, but then I noticed something odd. An app one didn't remember downloading, buried deep in the list of installed software. It was called HomeLink. Its icon was a generic gray square, and there was no description when I tapped on it. The permissions it had were chilling: camera, microphone, location, even access to my contacts and photo gallery. My stomach turned. I deleted the app immediately, but something told me that wouldn't be enough. Someone had been watching me, through my camera, through my phone. I didn't know if it was malware, a hacker, or something worse, but I knew I had to act fast. I powered down my phone, grabbed my laptop, and started researching. I spent hours digging through forums, tech blogs, and cybersecurity articles. The more I read, the more horrifying it became. HomeLink wasn't some random app. It was spyware, designed to run silently in the background, collecting everything. Camera footage, microphone recordings, screenshots, it could all be sent to whoever was on the other side. My stomach churned as I realized this wasn't just someone spying on me, it was someone targeting me. Then I found something even worse. In one of the forums, someone had posted about HomeLink. A few others had experienced the same invasive surveillance, but one comment stuck out: check your mirrors, check your vents. They don't always rely on just your phone. I froze. My apartment was small, but suddenly, it felt endless. Every mirror, every shadow, every corner felt like a potential hiding spot. Slowly, I walked to my full-length mirror near the bedroom door. My reflection stared back at me, pale and wide-eyed, but something wasn't right. The corner of the mirror's frame looked slightly misaligned, like it had been removed and hastily put back. I gripped the edge with shaking fingers and pulled. Behind it, tucked into the wall, was a tiny, blinking camera. My knees nearly gave out as I stumbled back, staring at the tiny, blinking light embedded in the wall. Someone had been watching me, not just through my phone, but here, physically in my home. I ripped the camera out of its hiding spot, my hands trembling, and threw it across the room. It hit the floor with a sharp crack, the blinking light fading out. My breaths were shallow, my chest tight. I didn't stay to think. I grabbed my laptop, my camera bag, and whatever essentials I could shove into a backpack. My phone stayed off, I couldn't trust it anymore. Within minutes, I was out the door, heading for a friend's apartment across town. Every step felt like I was being followed. Every glance over my shoulder met with shadows that felt just a little too human. When I got to my friend's place, I explained everything about HomeLink, the ads, the mirror, the camera. They helped me wipe my phone, reset every password, and disable every camera and microphone on my devices. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over. Someone had gone to extraordinary lengths to watch me, to know me, and people like that, they don't just stop. The next few days passed in a haze of exhaustion and paranoia. I stayed at my friend's place, barely sleeping, jumping at every notification or sound from the hallway. My phone was factory reset, my accounts locked down, but it didn't feel like enough. The damage had already been done. Someone had been in my life, in my space, watching me in moments I thought were private. Then, on the third night, I received an email. No sender, no subject line, just a single attachment. Against every instinct, I clicked on it. It was a video of me, sitting on my bed, scrolling through my phone. The camera angle was slightly tilted, the image grainy, but there was no mistaking it. It had been taken from inside my room. The timestamp was from a week ago. Below the video was a single line of text. "You shouldn't have looked." I slammed the laptop shut and felt a wave of nausea hit me. Whoever this was, they weren't just watching me. They were taunting me. I reported everything to the police, handed over my devices, showed them the camera I had pulled from the mirror. But I could tell by the officer's expression that they weren't hopeful. These kinds of people, these digital ghosts, they're nearly impossible to trace. I moved out of my apartment, changed my number, and deleted every social media account I had. But even now, in my new place, far from the tiny camera and flickering lights, I can't shake the feeling that someone's still watching. Every webcam gets taped over, every mirror checked. And sometimes, in the middle of the night, I swear I hear the faintest buzz of a camera lens adjusting its focus. Somewhere in the dark, just out of sight. I wasn't supposed to be out that night. My parents thought I was sleeping over at my friend Liam's house. But instead, I was standing outside an old, crumbling industrial building on the edge of town. The windows were shattered, the metal siding rusted and peeling. I held up my phone, the faint glow from the screen illuminating my face as I started the live stream. "What's up, guys? Welcome to the #NightDare Challenge. Let's see if I make it out alive." The chat immediately lit up with emojis and comments. "This place looks insane. Don't wimp out, bro." The goal was simple. Spend at least an hour inside, live stream the whole thing, and explore as much as possible. Easy, right? The air inside was stale, carrying the scent of mildew and rust. My footsteps echoed as I walked across the cracked concrete floor, the flashlight on my phone casting sharp shadows along the graffiti-covered walls. Comments scrolled rapidly across my screen, and I felt a rush of adrenaline knowing people were watching me. "Go deeper," one user wrote. Another commented, "Anyone else hear that noise?" I paused, tilting my head. It was faint, but there, a soft scraping sound, like metal dragging against concrete. I froze, my flashlight trembling slightly in my grip as I scanned the room. Rusted machinery loomed like skeletal remains in the faint light, and the silence felt heavier now, pressing against my ears. The chat was going crazy. "Bro, did you hear that? Someone's there, I swear. Turn around." My stomach knotted as I slowly turned the camera to show the empty expanse of the factory floor behind me. There was nothing, just shadows swallowing the edges of the light. I forced a laugh, trying to keep the energy up. "Come on, guys, you're messing with me. It's an abandoned building." It's supposed to sound creepy, but even as I said it, I felt my pulse quicken. I pressed deeper into the building, stepping over broken glass and dodging rusted pipes hanging like skeletal arms from the ceiling. My screen flickered as I lost signal for a brief moment, but the chat kept streaming. "Behind you! Dude! Seriously! Behind you!" My throat went dry. I spun around, pointing the flashlight back the way I came. At the far end of the hallway, just at the edge of the light's reach, a shadow moved, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably human. The shadow disappeared before I could fully process what I'd seen. My breath hitched, and the flashlight trembled in my grip as I pointed it back down the hallway. The chat exploded. "What was that? Dude, you're not alone. Run!" My pulse hammered in my ears as I tried to force out a laugh, but it came out thin and hollow. Okay. Probably just, reflections? Or like an animal or something. You guys are freaking me out, but I was lying, to them and to myself. That shadow wasn't an animal, and reflections don't move. I turned back and started walking faster, my sneakers crunching over debris scattered across the floor. Every creak of metal and distant drip of water felt magnified. Then, a notification popped up on my screen. A viewer named @Watcher0 had sent me a screenshot. My stomach clenched as I opened it. It was a still from my own stream, taken just moments ago. The flashlight was aimed down the hallway, and there, in the background, just at the edge of the frame, was a figure. Not a shadow, not a blur, an actual person. They were standing partially behind one of the rusted pillars, their face obscured by darkness, but their outline was clear. The caption below the screenshot read, "You're not alone. Leave. Now." My stomach dropped, and for a second I couldn't move. The figure in the screenshot wasn't some trick of the light, it was real. Someone was in here with me. My chat was chaos now, scrolling so fast I couldn't keep up. "Get out. He's right there, bro. Why are you still in there?" I forced my legs to move, turning sharply and heading back the way I came. My flashlight beam jumped across rusted beams and shattered glass, and every shadow felt like it was reaching for me. I could hear faint noises behind me. Footsteps? Breathing? I didn't know, and I didn't want to find out. But then, my phone buzzed again. A direct message notification from @WatcherZero. Against every instinct, I opened it. It was another screenshot, this time from just seconds earlier. It showed me, walking through the building, flashlight in hand. But what made my blood run cold was the angle. It wasn't from my stream. It was taken from behind me. Someone was watching me right now. I spun around, the flashlight beam slicing through the dark, but there was no one there. My breathing was sharp and shallow, and I could feel sweat prickling on the back of my neck. I wasn't going to make it out if I didn't move now. I bolted. My feet pounded against the cracked concrete floor, every step echoing through the hollow space of the factory. My phone shook in my hand as the chat exploded. "Run! He's behind you! Don't stop!" I didn't dare look back. The flashlight's beam bounced wildly with each step, casting chaotic shadows across rusted machinery and crumbling walls. Somewhere behind me, I heard it. A sharp metallic scrape, followed by slow, deliberate footsteps. Whoever was back there wasn't running. They didn't need to. They knew this place better than I did. They knew there was nowhere for me to go. My lungs burned as I spotted a faint glow of moonlight ahead. A window partially broken. An exit. I stumbled toward it, slipping on scattered debris and slamming my shoulder into a rusted pipe. Pain flared up my arm, but I didn't stop. My phone buzzed again. A final message from @WatcherZero. "Don't turn around," but I did. Couldn't help it. In the faint light from my phone screen, I saw him. A figure standing at the edge of the hallway, half hidden in the shadows. His head was tilted slightly, as if he was studying me. He wasn't running. He wasn't even moving. He was just watching. I turned back to the window, threw myself against the broken pane, and tumbled out into the freezing night air. I hit the ground hard, landing on gravel and shards of glass. My palms burned, and my knees ached, but I didn't stop. I scrambled to my feet and ran across the empty lot outside the building, my breath ragged and sharp in the cold night air. Behind me, the broken window sat dark and still, like a gaping mouth swallowing whatever was inside. My phone buzzed one last time. I stopped just long enough to glance at the screen. A single message from @WatcherZero. "You shouldn't have come here." My stomach tightened as I realized the stream was still running. My viewers had seen everything. Hundreds of comments flooded in, warnings, disbelief, some still begging me to keep running. I ended the live stream and shoved my phone into my pocket as I kept running, eventually reaching a nearby gas station. Under the flickering fluorescent lights, I collapsed onto the curb, gasping for breath. I called the police, but when they arrived and checked the building, they found nothing. No figure. No signs of anyone else being there. The screenshots from @WatcherZero were the only proof I had. The figure in the background, the angle of the second photo, it was all real. But the authorities couldn't trace the account. It vanished shortly after I ended the stream. I deleted the app. I stopped live streaming altogether. For weeks, I couldn't sleep without seeing that shadowy figure in the corner of my mind. Sometimes, when I'm walking home at night, I still feel like someone's watching me. Like there's someone just at the edge of the light, waiting, still. But the worst part? Every now and then, I get an anonymous notification on my phone. "Miss us?